Okay. Hi. Ooh. Hi, I'm Frankie. I live in Osaka. I talk about my life as a foreigner here in Japan, and I also like to chat with friends sometimes who work outside of English teaching. Just not that English teaching is a bad thing. It's a good way to get started, but I just want to let you guys know what other opportunities are available. So I am here with the Kansai Collective dudes,
The Kansai
Zane
Collective
and
dudes.
Asa.
What's up, guys? Ace Questenberry, co-host Kansai Collective, do a bunch of other stuff, and I'm always joined by my man Zane.
Yes, what's up? What's up? Thank you, Frankie fans. I am Zane. I am part of the Kansai Collective, and I
Part
am
of Mortal
happy to be
Kombat as
here.
well.
Yeah, we just filmed something for Kansai Collective, so that's why we're in this really nice studio with the mics too. So
Hello.
Thanks to the deck,
yeah,
Thanks to the deck.
but
Tomo Morisawa-san.
yeah,
Joining us. Well, cool. Thank you, Frankie.
yeah. So I have a few questions for Zane and Asa because they're both business owners here. So I thought that would be very interesting. If anything is too personal, I don't think it will be, but if it is, just say pass. We don't have to discuss it any further.
Plead the fifth.
Go.
But as an intro, so what initially brought you to Japan, and what kind of thing were you doing here? Were you working or studying or something else?
Should we start from Z to A or A to Z?
A to Z.
Go right down the line. I'm from the U.S. originally, and I did a bunch of time in the U.S. And in Canada as well. Got back to the U.S. like 2017. I was actually just like really sick of North America. Like I was like, I need to take a break from this country and this kind of part of the world. I had studied Japanese language, culture, and society for a little bit when I was in university. So I was like, I'll just do 6 months in Japan. Came to Japan, came here to Osaka, and I never left. So my family's not too happy because my 6 months, kind of slurred that, 6 month trip has turned into like 4 years. So I just came here, fell in love, and never left really. Came here teaching, of course, but I've since like totally moved out of that world into some other stuff.
Yes, and I respect you for that, Asa Questenberry. For me, I was just graduating from fashion school, and
You went to FTI.
FIT, yes, Fashion Institute of Technology.
There's
And
something else called
The
FTI. It's
fit.
on my brain.
yes, the fit.
The fit fashion school.
So, fashion school was fun. As you can see, I'm really into fashion.
Get over here.
But I was working, interning at a couple of companies, and you start at the bottom level in fashion. It's really who you know. So, you gotta kind of suck up to people, and I wasn't at the state where I really wanted to suck up to people to move forward. So I was like, yo, man, I don't want my life to just go up, 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 graduate college, and then zoo. Though it's just like kind of like a straight line. So I was working at this smoothie store, and it was right next to
Jamba Juice?
no,
No, not Jamba.
it was next to Madison Square Garden. So a lot of people that just came out the airport from John F. K. would come in to Madison Square Garden, come get a smoothie, and then they would be like, "Yo, I just traveled to this country and it was the best experience of my life." I probably heard that like 1,000 times, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna travel, and I was thinking either Japan or China. And then I watched this Japanese movie. It's called 13 Samurais, 13 Assassins. Definitely check it out. And the Japanese was just beautiful. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to Japan.
Nihon ikimasu. Cool.
Yeah. So you kind of already answered this. I was going to ask if you ever taught English here. So have you?
Yes, I have. That's how I first came here because I looked up on the internet. Okay, how do I get to Japan? You need a visa. Okay, how do you get a
English.
visa? You can teach English if you graduated from a university. I was like, all right, man. I mean, I never taught English before, but I speak English and I like teaching. So I could do this, and just looked up some teaching jobs. And like, what's funny is like I had really long dreads when I first wanted to come to Japan, and I forget what company I interviewed for, but I
Cut your hair.
they were like, first you had to create like a lesson, and then you had to perform it. I'm sweating my balls off. It's okay to say balls, because I was really nervous. I really wanted to go to Japan. Nailed it, and then like I come in for a second interview because the first one was with other people. Second interview, they're like, Zane, we like you, but we want to ask you one question. I'm thinking, I'm from New York. I'm chilling and, very diverse city. And they're like, would you cut your hair if we hired you? And I'm like, I was so taken back. I'm like, yo, why is my hair a
Offended.
problem? And I was like,
Super offended.
and mind you, I really wanted to go to Japan, but I was like, no, I wouldn't do that. And so basically, I lost that interview. Um, but my mom did say, if if one door closes, another one will open. And yeah, my first boss, he took me in. I was working at an English juku, which is like an after school in Hyogo, near Himeji. And when I first came here, I was just working as an ALT, assistant language teacher. But then little by little, I worked also at the Juku. So yeah, I got a lot of teaching experience under my belt.
Zane.
Yeah.
So what's next? What do we got next in the docket for questions?
So basically, what are you doing now, and how did you segue into it?
You want to start or you want me to start?
Let's do Z to A first now. Okay. So again, I've always loved fashion, and it's just my passion. So when I was living in Hyogo, I couldn't speak Japanese, but there was this guy, older gentleman, who kind of took me in as his like grandson, and he would teach me Japanese, give me Japanese food, and might have been my birthday, or he just was just kind. He just gave me this garment called a samue. It is originally the priest wear it when they are doing something called shugyo, which is kind of like disciplining, purifying yourself. Put it on. I'm like, wow, this feels so good. I was wearing it like literally every day.
Man, I look swag. You need to keep this
very,
on.
very, very. And so I was like, yo, I want to make my own. And being in fashion, I'm like, okay, let's go find a seamstress that could put it together.
And here we are.
Yep.
Here we
and
are.
Basically, after trial and tribulations, you feel me? I found someone that has been doing making kimonos for over 30 years, and we have a really great relationship. She's very spiritual, and it was around Corona time where I was like, because I was just making my own designs, but it was around Corona time when Japan just shut down. All English jobs shut down. And I just went from full-time to part-time because, man, 9 to 5 is not for me. And I'm like, wow, I have no jobs now. They weren't giving me any jobs. I was literally on my butt, not making any money. And I had to plead to these companies like, I need work because I can't pay for anything. And it was like one of the worst feelings ever.
Please,
for
sir,
me.
help me, please.
Yeah, I felt naked. It was one of the worst feelings for me. And I was like, you know what? I never want to feel like this unless I put myself like here through my, it was through my decisions, but, put myself through my own business ventures. And I was like, I never, ever decided to continue and stick with something that I loved. So I think that was the best way for me to make money. So from that point, I made my brand, Hinomaru.
Hinomaru. What is Hinomaru, Zane?
We will link it.
What is Hinomaru?
Hinomaru is...
Let's hear the elevator pitch. What is it, man? You've been practicing. I know you've been practicing. What is it, man? Hinomaru, tell us.
Hinomaru is a company that supplies Japanese modern traditional clothing to the modern people.
Traditional clothing for the modern day and age.
Yes.
Slow fashion. If you guys like slow fashion, handmade, handcrafted, fashion that's connected to its locale and manufacturing,
Yes.
Hinomaru. Taking the old designs.
Thank you, brother.
Making it for
Thank
the
you.
modern day and age.
Yeah.
It's cool clothing, right? I think so, kind of.
Yeah, and I'm also really into sustainable, slow fashion stuff.
Slow fashion. There you go.
Yeah. What's really interesting for me is, I'm selling garments to hotels and restaurants, and it's really interesting to me how much influence the Western world has on Japan, because like Japanese people think that if you're doing like business, that it has to be like a Western like suit. They are not really as interested in wearing their own clothes, but they haven't been modernized. Their clothes haven't been modernized. It's like, because I was talking to this lady yesterday, and she's like, I want to wear kimono, but I don't know how to tie an obi, which is a belt. And I'm like, yo, it's because they have like a specific way of doing it. And if you don't tie it correctly, then it's not right. Then you shouldn't do it at all.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be like that. You know what I'm saying? You can style it many different ways. And I think I have, bringing that new perspective. I want to bring a new perspective to the Japanese people where they can wear their traditional clothing, but in a modern way. So I want to, for the future of Hinomaru, bring Japanese garments into more, like, get Japanese people to wear more Japanese aesthetic garments. So like kind of like a Uniqlo,
Dope.
but like traditional clothing in
With the
a
quality.
modern way. Yes, exactly.
I want him to start turning that outfit, but like turn that. I want to be able to have like that as my suit, basically.
Yes, it's coming.
Like
man.
that built into a suit would be super, super cool. So cool, man. So I know Zane a lot. Unfortunately, we hang out a good bit on the Kansai Collective here in Osaka.
We have a really good relationship though. We can hang out outside of
We do.
the podcast
We do.
and still have.
I can't get rid of him. Zane's
How
always
did you
around.
guys meet?
Oh man, we were just like, I mean, because the cool thing about Osaka is like the community is rather small. I mean, there's not that many. I mean, there's a lot of foreigners, of course, but like once you kind of get involved with the foreigners that are in the community, you meet people rather quickly. So we just like knew each other from social media. I was like, yo, man, I like what you're doing. Your stuff is cool. He's like, I like what you're doing. Your stuff's cool. And then Halloween night, like 2 years ago or something, like we just bumped into each other. I'm like, wait a minute, I know your Instagram profile, and we just hit it off, and then just became homies after that. So it was really just
So
nothing too crazy.
Yeah, let's get back to the question. What do you do, and how did you get away from teaching?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, teaching is great. Teaching also depends on what type of students you have. If you have people that really want to learn and enjoy the process, it's great. If you have students that are just there because they're kind of forced, they can kind of be a bit of a soul crush. So big time. I don't know, man. I maybe I just like to make my life hard, but I wanted to start a business out here just because to me, I think that fits my lifestyle. So my background, my university, I was designing like architecture, urban planning. In that, I started using drones, like lots of drones for drone projects, drone services. Came here in Japan and originally was like, okay, well, the industry's kind of a little bit behind. I can do the same thing here. So originally we started focusing on drone services, underwater drones, drones for companies in the Kansai area. That has kind of grown now. I have too many robots. My house is full of robots. But that's kind of become like the side aspect of the business. But right now, like we're pretty involved in the startup community here in Osaka, which if you guys are interested in startups or entrepreneurship, Osaka is a strong trending in that kind of direction. So it's a good place to check out. So what the company is focused on in fundraising for right now is we're looking to develop infrastructure and facilities to support air mobility, or like air taxis, flying cars, autonomous drone systems.
Air infrastructure.
Air taxi infrastructure.
Air taxi infrastructure.
Check it out. You guys can Google a couple companies: Joby, Blackfly, Jetsons, Lilium. There's lots of flying car
What about
companies.
your company, bro?
That is the company. I'm saying it builds in for them to educate themselves.
Okay.
Right. First, prove to yourself that flying cars are real, because there are tons of them. But in Osaka, 2025, we have the World Expo coming to Osaka, which is like a huge thing. And the Japanese government announced that a big focus of that expo will be air taxi systems, like flying cars. They want to move people all around flying cars. Super fun, super cool, but there's no like infrastructure to have them. So our company wants to build the infrastructure for those flying car systems. So yeah, it's cool. Keeps me busy, and I love seeing people's reaction because they either think I'm totally lying to them, and it's usually they think it's a lie. They're like, that's not real. But yeah, so DroneX Kabushi Gaisha here in Kansai, air taxi infrastructure developer. We're trying to be.
Cool. Yeah. So
Check us out.
for both of you, are your businesses more geared towards Japanese people or towards the foreign community in Japan?
Mine is geared. I would love to gear it towards. I mean, we're geared towards Japanese community, of course. But ours is like really business to business. Like, it's we're not selling to just one client, right? With the drone stuff, I mean, I can do music videos, we can do tons of different work with that, but typically I would say a bit of both, but mostly to like the corporate or business side.
For me, I would say it's definitely more geared to the foreign community, but I think the only reason why it's not targeted to the Japanese is because it's harder to hit that target. But I definitely want to hit everybody. But, people outside of Japan, they, especially like the content you show, they don't really understand the life of Japan because
Like
it's
the
so
day-to-day,
different. Yeah,
the day-to-day stuff.
it's just very different, and they only see what they see on the internet, right? And so I want to
Crazy
bring them exactly right.
the super romanticized parts.
Yeah.
But I want to bring them like real deep core essence of Japan things, and I'm definitely planning to put that within my clothing.
So both is the short answer.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you found that there are any cultural barriers? Like,
Jiseki. Jiseki. If you guys watch this
Facts.
video, Jiseki is like your, not, I mean, portfolio is a bad word, but it's like what is proving your ability to do something? It's your trust base. It's called Jiseki. Jiseki is this bit of like a horrible cycle where it's like no one will do business with you unless you get Jiseki, but to get Jiseki, you have to have someone do business with you. So in Japan, it's always like
your reputation?
it's reputation, it's portfolio, it's I just say it all comes down to trust. You have to be shown. Japan is all trust based. So for me, getting started, especially because what I'm selling is like it's crazy. Like, hey, I'm this foreign dude. I speak poor Japanese. Let me fly some robots over your house, right? Like, it's a bit of a hard sell in the beginning, but step by step it builds up. But building that Jiseki is a really long, tedious process. But the cool thing in Japan, though, it's kind of slow business, as I tell people. Once you prove that Jiseki, once you get that Jiseki, the connections you make with other businesses, those are solid for like really, really long time, unless you drastically mess it up. So it takes much longer, but once you do set something up, it's pretty good from that point on. So for me, getting that Jiseki was the hardest part.
Yeah, I would say it takes time to build things in Japan, like because people are more off, like they're not trying to really socialize with you. But like for me, in my experience, I found really, really good people, but it's very hard to find really, really good like
You need
Japanese
that
people.
community.
Like, yeah, like for example, Tomo, the one that allows us to do our podcast at his facility, the deck. You feel me? I haven't found him until maybe 2-3 years after living in Osaka. But I'll say infiltrating the Japanese.
Infiltrating is such a negative word. Sneaking into their groups.
Well, yeah, getting into the Japanese community, man. But like if you're like for me, I'm just sincere. I love the Japanese culture and I want to spread Japanese culture across the world. So I find really genuine people that like that and we hit it off from there. So definitely just like getting yourself into the community.
Yeah. Did you have any like fumbles in the beginning? Like thought like, there's no saving this relationship with this potential client.
Oh.
Yes.
I think for me, like I'm a creative person. Luckily, I have like Asa and another friend of mine who are very business oriented, and I'm like very on the creative side. I don't like business at all, but you have to play the game in order to make progress. So like it's just been a whole process of like business jargon, how to approach people, because in Japan it's way different, like how you sell to people than
Different approach, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And we're doing it in a country with a different language, you feel me? So you also then have to worry about the language barrier, and then like the mannerisms, like like you bow, you don't shake hands. You have a business card, you know what I'm saying, and you give your business
Do
card.
you have a meishi?
No,
You need a
I
meishi
need
for
to
like
make them.
content
Yes.
creator.
You can make it right here at the deck too.
Can
man, to
make
be
it the
honest.
deck. Homachi.
I made mine at the deck.
He's got the flashy 3D ones, man. They're cool.
Laser print.
Yeah, I mean, I've had my life is just nothing but fumbles and learning from those fumbles and I guess getting
Yeah,
better.
same.
Yeah, I mean, tons. I think for me, a lot of the fumbles that like I've been really blessed that I've had, you know, as Zane said, you know, really kind Japanese people that have understood that, you know, you're a lot learning, especially because we're rather young. Like I'm only 27. I got started when I was like 24, so it's like super young when I got started here doing stuff. And a lot of times it's just like things that you wouldn't know because you're not Japanese. Like I remember one situation, I was doing a project, and my like mentor was showing me the way, and I introduced myself to the client before him, and like to me, I think that means nothing. But he's like, whoa, I'm, you know, you have to let me go first. You shouldn't introduce yourself before the person above. So like lots of those like little etiquette mistakes that like you just wouldn't know until you make that mistake. Other than that, I think so etiquette mistakes, language mistakes, you know, even if you think like you translate something perfectly, a big thing I've realized is like it doesn't matter if the translation is perfect Japanese, it's just something they wouldn't say. Like so for example, a good example is the word up and coming. You're an up and coming business. Like up and coming is a great way to describe things in English, right? But in Japanese when you directly translate it, it can sound like super arrogant and it's like just not something that you would describe yourself as. So some of those things where I'm like, oh, look at this advertisement I got, and they're like, yeah, this sounds really weird. We would never say. I'm like, oh, I've already showed this to 100 people. I'm like, that was a mistake. Etiquette, translation stuff, and I think trying to do too much, like because my company can offer a lot of services, so you can't you promise too much, and if you under deliver, man, you'll burn that bridge super quick. So a couple early stumbles for sure, but in my opinion that's how you get better. So it comes with the territory.
Yeah, true. Yeah. So something the people may be wondering is what type of visas do you guys have now?
Dozo.
I have a wife, so I have a spousal visa.
I have a capital management visa, which was intense, but yeah, so the business owner one, that's one I have. Yeah,
I've never heard of that one, so.
it's a nightmare. Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's like the cool part is now it has a lot of sway. Like when I was like I've traveled a good bit during like COVID, and like coming back through the border was no problem at all. Like, do you have your PCR checked? And they check your visa, and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, you can come in. You can come in. So my visa goes a little bit farther, but it was a nightmare to get it was like a 14-month process trying to get my visa, like the one I have now.
I think spousal visa is like one of the lowest visas.
Really? Well, because
so.
they're like, yeah, you're just taking our women. We don't care about you that much. Right?
But I'm also on a spouse visa, so I like it in the sense that you can do any type of work.
Right.
There are not many limitations.
That's the problem with mine.
Are you getting 1 years or how many years you getting?
I just applied to extend it again. I got 1 year. Please.
1 year.
Please give me 3.
Yeah, I just got my 3.
I started on 5. What was the grade? I started on 5, and then they're like, I switched from what's the humanitarian
Specialist in humanities.
I speak English visa, but I'm not a teacher, right?
Yeah.
So that was 5, which was cool, and then this one it's like 1 year. I just upgraded to another year, but visas are a nightmare.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Thank you guys so much for chatting with me.
Thank you, Frankie.
Thank you, Frankie. It's been a pleasure.
Check out Franklin the Woman.
We're on the opposite side. You feel me? We're getting interviewed. We're usually the interviewer.
Yeah, definitely check out Kansai Collective. They talk about a lot of
We're dropping a
things.
dope collaborative video coming to you guys soon. Hope to see you there. Frankie, always the best. Appreciate it.
Wow.
See you guys soon.
Okay, so take it away. A secret place.